What's the difference between wanderlust romance and erotica?
Oh, so erotica, they get right to it. Let's just be clear. Can we curse?
Yeah.
Oh, in erotica. Romance, they do. But it's a little bit more about the buildup of the story. And I think also the major difference between romance, wanderlust romance, and erotica is that, and I was in Iraq in the middle of a war zone. So,
Yeah. Oh, wow.
However, y'all ever heard whatever goes on in Vegas stays in Vegas?
Uh-huh.
Y'all heard whatever happens on deployment stays on deployment?
No.
Well.
What happens on deployment?
I hope I'm not doing any type of infringement on trademarks or copyrights, but Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was the inspiration for.
Oh, yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, because he really does action.
He does action, but I want to see him do some other action.
Right.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Launch and Profit Podcast. And listen, today I am super excited because I have the beautiful and awesome Cher Terais. Cher Terais.
Yes, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad that you're here too. Welcome in. I'm excited for this episode because there's so many people who want to release a book and write a book, and they get a chance to talk to a number one Amazon bestseller author. Also my client, I have to mention. And so Tempest in Tulum is dropping. No, Tempest in Tulum has dropped. We're getting ready for some things. But before we jump in, why don't you introduce yourself to the people and let them know what you do?
Absolutely. So I'm Cher Terais, writer of Wanderlust Romance, and a lot of people ask what that means. It's stories that center perfectly imperfect Black women and the men who chase them around the world. It's Black love. It's multicultural romance. It's wanderlust romance. And so, yeah, we don't get to see enough authentic Black love stories, so I'm trying to fill that gap.
Yeah. How did you get started in authorship and specifically romance?
Yeah. So, first of all, I love romance, whether it be romantic movies, romantic books, rom-com, dramedy, all the things, contemporary romance, but it's a lot of vitriol going on right now on social media and everything. So I want to be that author that changes the narrative. Black love is real. It's not always about the struggle. And guess what? We are not just here. We are everywhere. And so I tell those stories that represent us in that light. We're real people. We do experience real things, but love happens for us. And we just don't get to see that enough in the media. So it's going to change the narrative.
Cher, what is the difference? Okay, I'm going to go off the wall with a question, okay? What's the difference between wanderlust romance and erotica?
Oh, so erotica, they get right to it. Let's just be clear. It's very intentionally, I guess that's the right way to say the word, intentionally sexual, erotic. It's about that. The sensory things that go into making love, not just making love either. Can we curse?
Yeah.
Oh, in erotica. Romance, they too. But it's a little bit more about the buildup of the story. And I think also the major difference between romance, wanderlust romance, and erotica is that it always ends in a happily ever after.
A wise person once taught me that proximity is power, and it's true. 10 years ago, when I started my event planning business, I had no customers, no revenue, no clue. And when I started to build a tribe, not a circle, but a tribe, I was able to start working with some of the biggest Fortune 500 companies in the country and build a 6-figure business. So now as a business coach, I've taken the liberty upon myself to start a community called CEO Nation, a community for entrepreneurs who are looking to launch, grow, and scale their business. We have monthly workshops and coaching sessions, monthly Q&As, resources, and not only that, you get to network and connect with entrepreneurs from around the world. And you can get started today for just $1. So click the link in the description and get started today. Did you, when you grew up, did you always read romance novels?
Way too young. I was way too young. However, I had a mother who was an avid reader, aunts who were avid readers, and 13, 14, I was reading Danielle Steele, Rosemary Rogers, the queen of historical romance, historical fiction. Again, age 13, I'm not the only one who has this experience, but my mother was, she rather say, I'd rather you be reading than not reading, so I'm not really censoring what you're reading. So, yeah, I started reading romance, as well as fantasy and other genres, too, at a very early age.
Okay. Yeah, I remember when we were coming up, it was like maybe 2006, 7. The books, all the girls are reading like Cold as Winter Ever,
Ooh,
and
yeah.
like all these other like romance novels. I don't know if that was romance or if that was erotica, but they were reading all these novels. So that's interesting that you jumped into it.
Yeah.
So when you wrote your first book, was that the first time that you wrote like a story, or were you writing before that?
I was writing before that. I started out writing poetry, second grade. I had a teacher who I actually won an award for that second grade poem. I don't know where it ended up, but I won an award, and that kind of sparked my interest in writing. I also was a journalism student in high school, and I had aspirations to be a journalist. But I didn't want to be just a regular journalist. I wanted to be one of those that were out in war zones or around the world in the rainforest taking pictures, a photojournalist, an action, that kind of journalist. That didn't happen, but I did go into the military. And so rather than being on one side of the camera or one side of the story, I was more in the fray of the story. So ended up going to the Middle East, staying in the Middle East for 3 years. And this is not as a soldier. This is beyond me being in the military. But that kind of was my catalyst for exploring Black love on an international stage. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of expats. For those of you who may not know, there's a lot of expats, and what that means is U.S. citizens who actually pick up citizenship or work abroad. And there are a lot of communities. Right now I'm hearing about Colombia, a huge Black American community in Colombia, Panama, Uganda, parts of Africa that a lot of people don't think about, but our culture is present in all these places. So of course, Black love has to be present there too.
So when you went to the Middle East, you said you weren't there for the military.
I wasn't there.
Why were you there?
I was working, but I worked for the Department of the Army as a consultant. I was no longer a soldier, but that allowed me a few freedoms that our soldiers didn't get, of course.
Yeah.
I could interact a little bit more with the population and the cultures that were there. And I was in Iraq in the middle of a war zone.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
However, I was on a military installation that had people from Bangladesh, India, Africa, United States, Paris. We had Australian soldiers there. We had British soldiers there. It was a melting pot in a very condensed area. And so y'all ever heard whatever goes on in Vegas stays in Vegas? Y'all heard whatever happens on deployment stays on deployment?
No.
Well,
what happens on deployment?
Stays on deployment. Put it this way, there was a rich amount of data information to start exploring romance and love.
Okay, yeah. All right. Yeah. So let's fast forward.
Yeah.
So, let me tell you what I really love about your brand and what it is that you stand for. Is that you have everyone needs a unique selling proposition, even in writing a book. And what I love about you is that you base your books based off of places that you've actually visited.
Absolutely.
So we have the first book, which is Bali Blue, right?
That's correct.
And tell us about how that came to fruition.
Absolutely. So a little bit about my writing process. The characters usually come to mind before the actual plot or the story. I don't know why in Bali Blue's case, the place came to mind first before even the characters. But then I was thinking, like, I don't want the characters to be from Bali because I'm not, I don't have the experience to write from a Balinese culture or standpoint. So it really came down to, okay, well, let that be the setting or the backdrop. But then what's interesting about these characters, and it was a couple of things that came into play. I hope I'm not doing any type of infringement on trademarks or copyrights, but Dwayne The Rock Johnson was the inspiration for the main male character, Kendrick Kekoa in Bali Blue. And the whole story came to be because I literally waited for years. I think it was Why Did I Get Married? He showed up at the end, and it almost looked like him and Janet Jackson's character were gonna, like something was gonna pop off, and another movie was gonna come out of that. Never did.
Never came.
Never did. And nor has any romance movies from Dwayne The Rock Johnson. So I've been waiting, and it didn't happen. So I said, let me write the story.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Oh,
yeah.
that's interesting. Yeah, because he really does action.
He does action, but I want to see him do some other action.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so Bali Blue came. Now, tell us about the writing process. So again, we probably have, we have authors in the community who wants to learn to get into this field in this industry. So what are like the top things that they should know about writing their book?
Absolutely. So every one of us has a story in us. However, every one of us does not have the craft and the skill to write the story. So let's be very clear. It is really hard, nasty work, writing a book. It is hard. I would never sit up here and say that it is not hard. And the reason why I say it's so hard, because in order to write a compelling story, you have to have compelling characters. You have to have a compelling plot. You have to have unique connection points between the story itself and the person who's reading it. It has to be relatable. And it almost takes a therapy mindset to get all those things together at one time and then reach the masses. And so that's how you become a #1 best-selling author. That's how you get that buy-in, because people can really relate and connect to that.
So I can't just go to ChatGPT and have it just write me a book.
You can. You absolutely can. And we're seeing it right now that there's a lot of books on Amazon that were written by ChatGPT and other GPTs and bots. However, there's no soul. AI cannot enter a soul of a story. It can fake a soul, but it can't. It's inherently human, creating a soul of a story that really connects to other humans and their souls.
Yeah. I'd say the same thing when it comes to marketing. So I'm always telling people, I'm like, please don't let ChatGPT be your copywriter.
Yeah.
Let it give you the foundation, but you have to add some sort of element to it. We are so tired of unleash, unlock, release, all of that stuff.
Now, I'm not going to totally trash ChatGPT.
I love ChatGPT.
Definitely purposes for it. And I use it, too, for research. You know, not even just research, but you know how you can go do a Google search sometimes and you might get a million records returned, which we all know that too much data kind of paralyzes you. Whereas you can kind of put the same searches in ChatGPT and it gives you a more directed, customized response that you can take and then morph or input into your story, but you can't use it totally to write your book.
Yeah, you got to put some soul into it. I love that.
There are plenty of book clubs and even more writing groups, but what if one space did both? Welcome to the Chapter Lounge, where readers and writers connect. Readers get early access to steamy stories, live meetups, and even invites to retreats in places like Tulum, Mexico. And writers, you get tools, support, workshops, and most importantly, real readers to write for. It's a book club meets writing room, built for Black and multicultural lit lovers, but open to all avid readers and writers. I'm Cher, Terais, 2-time best-selling author, and I'm inviting you inside. Tap below and RSVP for chapters and cocktails to learn more. Your next chapter is waiting.
So you released Bali Blue, excuse me. Was that the one that went #1?
Actually, both of my books that have been released thus far. So we have Bali Blue, #1 bestseller on Amazon, and also Mess on the Mara, #1 bestseller on Amazon, both within the first weeks of them coming out.
Let's go. Yeah. Okay, so Cher, we gotta break down into strategy.
Yes.
You know I'm a man of strategy.
Absolutely.
Talk to me about what it took, like what is an Amazon bestseller or just bestseller period? What do you have to do?
So there's a lot of best-selling lists, and I'm gonna be upfront too. Your goal as a writer and author, someone who's trying to connect with an audience, should not be to become a number one best-selling anything. However, it is a goal that can be reached. You got the New York Times best-selling list. You got USA Today best-selling list, and then of course you got Amazon. All of them come with their various criteria. A lot of times that criteria needs to be met within a week. So instead of going into each individual set of criteria, just know that it's really based on the number of book sales that you get within a certain amount of time. And then with New York Times bestselling, it is a little bit more subjective. You can get the total number of books, but also there's a group of humans who are also selecting those books. So you can actually sell 1 million books in the first week, and if that group of humans aren't tapped in to what you wrote, you still might not make New York Times best-selling list. However, you could get on another list, which is why I say that being a number one best-selling author should not be the goal. Telling the story that resonates with your audience should be.
I love that.
Yeah.
When you say they have to be tapped in, do you mean like you need to have relationships?
Not necessarily. Maybe relationships, and a lot of times it is traditional published. So another thing, I'll step back and say I am totally indie published. So everything that I write is my own. Everything that gets edited, either I edit it or I outsource that editing piece, but the whole publication process as well, I handle that internally, and that's part of my brand. Writing, editing, all the way through publishing your manuscript, and I help other people do that as well. Again, that's why I say it's tough, nasty business, because it's a lot of work that goes into actually getting that book to a point where it can actually get a sale. Pre-sales matter, but yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Pre-sales matter. And so it's interesting because times have changed for a lot of industries, and it used to be to where you did want to look for a publishing company.
Yep.
And I'd love if you break down the benefits of having a publishing company versus doing your own publishing. But there used to be a time where you're looking for a publishing company that can help you with your book. And now we're in an era where it's like, well, I could do this on my own.
Yeah.
So what are the pros and cons of like self-publishing and working with a publishing company?
Absolutely. So a lot of people think that it's a big goal to get traditionally published. That means that you wrote this manuscript or a outline for or a 10 chapters. Let's say you finish your first 10 chapters and you want to submit it to an agent. You have to get an agent, and then that agent, you cannot go directly to a publishing house in traditional publishing. So I'm going to start out with saying that that's kind of a limiting factor with traditional publishing. You have to find an agent who's willing to take you on, and then they are the middleman that pushes your book to different publishing houses and editors. So a lot of times your book getting traditionally published is based on how good your agent is, not how good the book is, how good they're selling you and your book. Indie publishing, on the flip side of that, you could publish your book, you could write your book tomorrow or yesterday and publish it yourself tomorrow and don't have to go through a middleman. You're direct to consumer. However, it does take money sometimes to do that. You know, it does not cost money to write a book. It also really doesn't cost money to publish a book if you're indie. You can do it all yourself. However, cover design matters. Making sure your book is fully edited. These things matter, and they don't have small price tags. I mean, let's be clear. And then marketing your book. You can publish a book again and put it on Amazon today, and nobody's going to know anything about it. It's just going to be on Amazon.
Yep. Collecting virtual dust.
Collecting virtual dust. And so you can go that route, but you also have to have systems and teams behind you to help you get that book out to the consumer or your target audience.
Yeah.
Also, on the flip side, traditional publishing, they cut you a check often up front. I'm not even going to talk about the dollars on that check, because they're not what sometimes they're cracked up to be or seem to be. But the cool thing about it is they're giving you at least some money up front to either complete your book or actually to get you ready to, go through that whole promotion of the book, right? And then they handle all of the promotion, not all of the marketing, but they do all of the work and pay for the fees to get it edited, the cover design, oftentimes even the narration. But you can also understand that traditional publishing, if you are allowing your publishing house to do all of that, you don't have as much creative freedom. So it's some pros and cons to both sides.
Yeah. So a publishing house is similar, like if we're thinking music industry, is similar to like a record label.
Absolutely.
And the benefit of working with the publishing house is they have the resources to actually get the book out there.
Yep.
They have the connections to help also market the book.
Yep.
And
promote.
Promote.
Yeah.
And what about like PR? Is that different, or will publishing?
So it's interesting that you ask that, because you would think that the big publishing houses, that they would be putting you on Good Morning America, making sure you're in front of Oprah's or Reese Witherspoon's book clubs. A lot of, even when you're traditionally published, the author still has to go and do a lot of that themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, y'all, I may as well just do it myself. Or work with us.
Yeah. So that's the route I took, and I think that's why we're sitting here today.
Yeah.
I needed a team. I knew I had a story. I knew still have several stories. We'll talk about the newest one, Tempest in Tulum, here in a minute, but I wanted to be able to focus on the writing, editing, publication process. Yeah. And what was really happening was marketing and PR was taking over, which slowed down my ability to be able to write the book and make sure that it was good, and then go talk to my target audience about the book, right? So I decided at the beginning of my first book that by the time I finished the third, I was going to then start bringing on that team. Ooh. What I didn't want to do is start doing that with the first book, and then the first book flops, and it kind of made me not want to write anymore.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. Say that again. There's so many entrepreneurs, and I just did an episode talking about don't be afraid to invest in yourself.
Yeah.
And invest in getting support so you can focus on the things that you're great at and the things that only you want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you already know I write Wanderlust Romance. So what does that entail? Traveling and writing.
That's what we like to do. Is travel and write. Yeah. So talk to me. So the first time you launched a book, or both of the books went to number one.
Yeah.
How did you make those sales?
Ooh, social media, Instagram, getting on TikTok and Instagram and not knowing anything about what I was doing. But I think that's the cool thing about social media. You don't have to have a degree in social media marketing in order to just get on social media and talk about your stuff. Yeah. Now, there's a rhyme or a reason to it, and I'm learning that now working with the pros. But yeah, I did what I could. I did the best I could, and it got me there. Now I'm trying to hit that New York Times bestselling list. If it's attainable, it's attainable. Yes. Right?
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. And thank you for kind of calling out, like, I just got out there and just put it out there. That's the number one thing, is just do it. Just get it out there. But now that you're working with us and we're putting a strategy in place, I'd love for you to just kind of highlight like what you're learning, what you feel are like game changers, just your feedback on that.
Well, let's start about what we're doing right now today. I'm sitting on your podcast, right? When I reached out to Christian, and Christian virtually reached out to you, and we came together, some of the things that I talked about wanting to accomplish were, again, freeing up my time in order to write the product. Because without the books, I have no reason to be sitting here, right? Yeah. So, again, when I reached out to you guys, I said, I need help with social media, because I want the posts and the money that I will be targeting towards ads and promotion, I want it to be towards the right thing, and I just don't have the ability. I don't have the skill set for that. My skill set is writing and telling these stories. But also, I knew I needed to be in front of my target audience more, and social media wasn't the only means for doing that. Yeah. but scheduling podcasts, talking and speaking engagements, and I think your team, Christian's team, collectively plus what I do is actually making all of this beautiful. You just don't know how many times I've been reached out to this week alone.
Oh, really?
I see your content. You about to blow up. You about to be on Oprah. And I'm like, okay, I'll take it. I'll take it. But
Yes.
that wouldn't have happened without you guys. So it's important to have that team and that structure behind you. What's the other thing? Also, you guys helped me understand that my books and being an author was not the end state.
Ooh. Pay attention.
It's not the end state. That's the
Yeah.
beginning. That's my calling card. The book itself is my lead magnet. I'm going to keep on plugging the fact that I write wanderlust romance. And let me break that down for a second.
Yes, please do.
I write stories that center perfectly imperfect Black women and the men who chase them around the world. We don't get to see enough authentic Black love stories, so I want my stories to fill that gap and show that we're not just here, we're everywhere. So my stories take you on a journey from Atlanta and places like it to some of the most stunning, exotic places in the world. It's Black romance, it's wanderlust romance, it's multicultural romance, but what you will get is total immersion into a beautiful love story with the backdrop of these stunning places. Bali Blue, set in Bali. Mess on the Mara, set in Kenya, the Masai Mara to be exact. And Tempest in Tulum, my newest release, is set in Tulum, Mexico.
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, Tulum, Mexico. And if you click the link in the description or the story notes, you can get, or not the story notes, if you click the link in the description or the show notes, you can get a copy of the preview of the first chapter, which is done in a dramatic reading.
Oh, yeah.
And Cher, I can tell them the reason behind that, but I'd love if you kind of tell them, because a part of this is strategy too.
Oh, yeah.
So I would love if you tell them the reason that we decided to do that.
The dramatic narration. Simply because Tempest in Tulum is a little break from the norm of romance stories that I'm telling. It's more action-packed and a little bit more gritty and adventurous. So I'll tell you about the characters. Again, the setting is Tempest, or Tulum, Mexico, rather. However, the characters, this is where the multicultural comes in at. The main female character, Delia Aguien McGee, is Mexican-American and African-American. However, she relates to her African-American culture way more than her Mexican-American. So there's some tidbits in the book that'll explain that. But the main male character, he is Okio Bamdi, and Okio is Kenyan-born and raised in the United Kingdom. So he's ex-MI6, Black James Bond type, and that first chapter, as you always say, gives it to you. And so it didn't make sense to not do a dramatic narration where they talk about Afro beats. He's at a party, so the Afro beats are playing in the background. He is meticulously watching the scene because, of course, MI6, CIA, private eye, sneaky squirrel type, right? He's always watching his surroundings, so you get to see from a very focused, deep first-person point of view what he's witnessing at this party. And so the dramatic narration gives you all of that. His beautiful voice and tone, but also sounds and bits of what's going on at this party that really draw you in. So we couldn't have just did that with a regular narration or just handed you the chapter and said, read that. We wanted you to be totally immersed into that first chapter.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Cher, did you have anything else that you wanted to talk about?
Just, the travel aspect of it. We talked about the romance quite a bit. Romance is romance. And again, Black love really does exist, no matter what you hear on social media or the fact that they've basically erased Black men and women and Black couples in general from basic commercials. Have y'all watched a commercial lately?
No.
And saw an actual Black family, like a Black man, Black woman, even a Black man with a Black man and their Black kids? You don't see that anymore. You'll always see some ambiguous looking couple. You'll see a white couple. You'll see an Asian couple, even a Hispanic or Latino couple. but you never see a black man, a black woman, and their babies in a commercial anymore. It's almost like black love is totally being erased from the media. And that's not fair. We exist, but that's that. But we also exist on the international stage, right? So yeah, I think that's kind of one of the things I love to focus on when I'm talking the travel aspect of my writing. It's totally immersive. And again, you already said it. I travel to every place that I write about to make sure that I'm not just, going to do a Google search to tell y'all about Tulum,
Right.
Mexico. I'm sure many of you have been there already, but the story itself kind of looks at Tulum in a very different way that you may not be aware of, even if you've gone there multiple times. So it's immersive, and I think I might not have answered your question.
No, that was great. That was great. No, I'm glad you highlighted that, and I didn't even realize that you are seeing less and less like
Yeah,
black couples in commercials
it's scary. It's a little
and
scary.
branding. It is. It is. Piece of advice for anyone looking to launch a book,
Oh, yeah.
write a book, get into this world and this industry.
Write the book. Period. You have to write in order to call yourself a writer. You have to publish in order to call yourself an author. You have the book in you. Again, it's not easy, but you can. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? Write the book one word at a time, one sentence at a time, one paragraph at a time, and then you reach out to somebody like me, who can help you with the crafting of that book.
100%. Cher, Terais, thank you for being here. If you love travel, if you love romance, if you want to become an author, listen, click the link in the show notes, click the link in the description. But most importantly, go and get Tempest in Tulum. It's out now. It has Nick's approval and stamp on it. And listen, if you don't remember anything else, this will work.